OAN playing a clip of Jon Stewart interviewing a dude talking about Hunter Biden's laptop. And I have not watched this. And but apparently, Jon Stewart is under the impression that the person he's interviewed has actually seen the laptop or that it exists, which they haven't, and it doesn't. Let's see.
Susie Lee fights for herself, not you or me.
God.
Lee was caught breaking federal law, refusing to
All right. Keep staring. Keep staring. That's not creepy at all.
Welcome back to Tipping Point.
Thanks.
I'm your host, Andrea Kay, filling in for Tara McKinney. The criminal investigation into Hunter Biden's questionable business dealings intensifies. Senators Chuck Grassley
intensifies. Grassley share investigative material with prosecutors and Hunter Biden. It's just, all right. He's been on this for fucking months. It's not intensifying. It's always Chuck Grassley. This is all he does.
Grassley and Ron Johnson are sharing documents.
Not Ron Johnson.
And banking records.
Well, that's, I mean, I take it all back. Ron Johnson, unimpeachable character.
Involving Hunter.
If you tell me Jim Jordan's involved, I don't know. That's like going after the Pope and Mother Teresa and Martha Stewart all at once.
Hunter Biden's ties.
Pre-prison Martha Stewart, I'd like to say for the record.
To Chinese companies with the Delaware U.S. Attorney's Office.
Yes, you can tell by how well we're getting along with China right now.
The more than 200 pages of documents highlight the Biden family's connections to individuals linked.
200 pages? Who has time to read all that?
To the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese intelligence services. And when asked to provide some basic transparency on the matter, here's what John Kirby had to say.
This is a very simple question, but it's an enduring point of uncertainty.
It's an enduring point of uncertainty. It's a hole in my soul.
Does the president's son still co-own a company with China's government? And if not, can you provide some basic transparency about who bought that stake and for how much money?
I don't have anything for you on your second.
Wait. Why didn't you finish? Let him finish what the fuck he was saying. I don't know. Basically, he's like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Deepening scandal is so.
Do you even know what you're talking? What company? What the fuck are you talking about?
Egregious. Even ultra-liberal comedian and podcaster Jon Stewart is
ultra-liberal. That's like ultra MAGA, but not.
Is calling out the corruption.
Biden being on the board of
Burisma. Gazprom. That would be
Burisma.
Really bad.
That's right. Burisma.
No, not Gazprom / Burisma. Not the same thing. Don't conflate and don't nod away the fucking conflation.
To me, that's corruption straight up off the bat.
What was the company like before Hunter Biden worked there? What was the company like after Hunter Biden worked there? Before he joined the board, before they brought in the investment money, before him and Devin Archer or whoever the fuck else was working at Rosemont Seneca at the time came in, it was completely corrupt, full of Russian sock puppets, and that guy who ran the place was a Russian oligarch who was meddling in every part of the energy sector in Ukraine. He fled the country, those people got fired, the money got put where it was supposed to go, and pipelines started getting built, and now Burisma's a functioning company. Again, I make this case to my beloved Jon Stewart. If I have a gun to your head, bless your heart, and I say you have to invest your entire life savings in Burisma, do you do it before Hunter Biden comes in or after? Do you give it to him to invest on your behalf and oversee, or do you give it to the company before? Which one? Which one is a profitable investment? Which one will get you your money back and a return on it as a regular investor? And which one will get your money sucked out into Russia? Again, this is what happens when you only read headlines about shit.
It's corrupt on its face.
No, it isn't. It's not corrupt on its face. The reason these people wanted Rosemont Seneca to be the company that guides their shit through is because they knew, because Hunter Biden was attached to it and his dad was Joe Biden and his dad had been the vice president, that he couldn't fuck off to Russia. They were skating on the Biden name. The investors were, not the company. The investors were. The investors were like, well, if I give this guy the money and he invested on my behalf and he gets a fee for overseeing the investment, at least I know he's not going to take my money and disappear into fucking Siberia. The money vanishes and then he falls out a fucking window. That's why. The name meant something. And I don't understand sort of the same thing with John Kerry's kid. Same fucking thing. It looked bad is not corruption. Because you know what? You know what? For decades, according to everybody, the Trump organization didn't look corrupt. It looked glitzy. It looked top of the line. Nothing to fucking see here. Any problems he had with bankruptcy and stuff, that was just him taking chances on big deals. It looks great. The fucking Apprentice was a snow job when this fucker was nearly broke. The plot, whatever you think of Mark Burnett, the plot of The Apprentice is ultimately like, especially the Celebrity Apprentice, is look at all these successful people, ironically, being judged by one of the least successful New York real estate guys in fucking history. It's like filming an acting class taught by Gary Busey. Now, not before.
I don't need a laptop with like a hint.
Yeah, you fucking do.
Hint of circumstantial evidence. Now, tying Joe Biden to it, yeah, that's going to take some digging. And if it's real, you know, that's a thing. But
if it's real, that's a thing. Okay, so I bet it probably is. So let's just leave that laying there, John.
The idea that nepotism would allow much larger amounts of money to flow into the hands of people unqualified to be in the positions that they've been accepted because...
Why didn't, John, all due respect, why didn't they hold auditions for the host of the Daily Show? Why did you just get to pick your successor? No, by the way, this is not John, I love Jon Stewart, all said in context. Also, this is not on OAN. OAN is playing slices of his podcast to buttress their point.
You think those countries are...
And keep in mind, I'm a little uncomfortable judging his statements because they're sliced up by what OAN is doing. So just so you know. But this seems to be the root of his belief about this, and he's wrong about it. And he's not having a dude on who's going to push back about it.
Trying to buy influence? Yeah, welcome to the world. And
right, but
I think it's a huge problem on its face.
No, on its face is not a fucking thing. I think it's a huge problem that the host of America's #1 political comedy talk show gets to name his successor unilaterally and doesn't pick an American comedian. How about that? Right? Is that on its face? Now, under its face, I suppose, it's totally fine. I don't give a shit. You can, of course, do that. But where's the... I mean, it looks corrupt on its face. Like, it's silly. Come on.
Joining us now to discuss...
Yes, and by the way, yes, Jon Stewart has a new podcast that he's doing. And again, it's I don't even know why the fuck they call these things podcasts, because they're not audio. To me, a podcast is an audio thing. Almost audio only. Like... My Saturday show you can get as a podcast on the Sexy Liberal Network because they cut the commercials out of it and play it just as radio. But if you're a visual show like mine, you know, and you take out the visuals and you just play the audio, arguably it's a podcast.
Is Lee Smith, the author of The Permanent Coup, How
All right. You worked on that title for a long time, did you? The permanent coup. I'm sorry. This is like one of those stupid titles Mark Levin comes up with.
Enemies foreign and domestic targeted.
How enemies foreign and domestic targeted the American president. Oh, you mean Obama? Oh no.
The American president. Thanks for being here tonight, Lee.
And thanks for not looking creepy at all, like some dude who has, if you push on that bookcase, it opens up and there's a wall full of like straps and leather and one light bulb and a weird stain on the floor. It's a great look. Welcome to my library closet.
Hey, Andrea, thank you for inviting me on. I appreciate it.
Sure. Oh.
I had to break into this house and sleep here when the owners were at a timeshare, and so I got to kind of keep it down because I think their daughter just came back from college and she's in the other room, and I fresh out of chloroform. This is just such a weird take. Where are you?
Okay, Lee, for 5 years, all we heard about was Russia, Russian collusion. We had a special prosecutor, investigator, But the real collusion has been with communist China and by the Biden family. And
yes, that's why we're on such great footing with China right now. And America has never been more invested in China. Why America is never take Taiwan, knock yourself out. And you know what? Have all the chips you want. And as a matter of fact, we're not going to do anything to stifle American businesses expanding their factories and their works in China. Fuck it. Knock yourself out. It's like literally upside down world these people live in.
And it was all about the money, and there was lots of it, wasn't there?
Money.
Yeah, there was a lot of money. I tried to shape it a little differently. I say that.
Tried to shape it a little differently. Well, you have to do that when you don't have facts, I suppose.
Hunter Biden is really, and Joe Biden, it's really the tip of the iceberg. I mean, the Democratic Party.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into Jill's corruption.
Cannot run national campaigns without money from Wall Street, big tech.
Well, who's that? Colonel Sanders, the Rothschilds. Really? You're going. This is a terrible time to go up, bruh. You don't go up when people are asking you who's behind the giant conspiracy. That should be the thing you could prattle off in a heartbeat.
The university system.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's where I was going to go. I was like, okay, big tech, Wall Street, college professor, pension funds. Fuck that's who runs the world. If I had to draw a big like spidery hand on top of the globe for an old 1945 warning about the creeping authoritarianism coming across the globe, finger number 3 would definitely be the university system.
As well as Hollywood and all.
Well, thank you. Thank you for noticing. I feel seen.
All of that is a very long supply line of cash back to China. So
all right. Again, with the fucking smoking in bed picture. What is this dunk? Like, initially, it was just kind of like, oh, we really have pictures from his phone, which was hacked clearly in Ukraine, and those pictures ended up on the fake hard drive that Rudy bought. Fuck off with that nonsense. But I give a fuck. It's like, look at how does Joe Biden raise his children? That all of them scoff at. I bet you that was a no-smoking hotel.
It's not just the Bidens, and
no, of course not. It couldn't be. I mean, not a criminal conspiracy this big. You'd have to. I mean, who else? Oprah's family, like, obviously, got to be involved, and then what other families? Whoever's behind Whole Foods, probably.
I just need to say something very quickly about Jon Stewart. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, that doesn't clear him. That makes him look like more of a clown.
Yeah.
Right. All people, and there aren't all that many people, but the very few people were saying, oh, wow, look, Burisma, that looks really bad. Let's remember that this is why Donald Trump was impeached. Had these people come out 3 years ago.
Donald Trump wasn't impeached over Burisma. I mean, does he mean the Russia? I don't know. Maybe they're cutting this too.
Could have spared the country a great deal of pain. And so they.
Oh, yes. We all went through so much pain watching Trump get investigated for his obvious dealings with China, and that whole removal of not looking at his finances, therefore removing the motivational aspect of an indictment on intentionally by Bill Barr, which is the one thing that protected Trump from not only an indictment coming directly while he was president, but probably afterwards from the same charges. It was painful. It was very painful.
They get no credit now. It's unclear exactly why they're saying it, but they deserve no credit now.
Well, not only that, but it sounds like Jon Stewart at the end is saying, well, welcome to the world, nepotism. This is not just a case of nepotism. This was the vice president of the United States of America flying his kid around all around the world. And most importantly, to the Chinese Communist Party to cook up deals.
And those deals would be what? What deals? It's been 2 fucking years. All right. You should be able to prattle this shit off. What deals worked out? What deals went forward? What deals happened where he got money directly? That they just fucking straight up paid him for something, for a job he didn't do, a no-show situation. Explain it. Anybody. This guy wrote a fucking book. Say it. What is it? I've been looking. I can't find it. And I've watched all these motherfuckers.
And, and in regards to this 200 pages of evidence, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, you've done the research on this.
You are wrongly. I'm correcting you for being wrongly. Only in the fact that that's not actually a word.
The Chinese Communist Party to cook up deals. And, and in regards to this 200 pages of evidence, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, you've done the research on this, but
oh, his name's Lee.
I'm thinking a whole lot of the emails, Jon Stewart's like, oh, we gotta do some digging and see if there's emails tying Joe Biden. In the 200 pages that were revealed and sent to the U.S. Attorney Office in Delaware, a lot of that stuff Grassley and Ron Johnson had in 2020. This is
Yeah, and it's amazing. Everybody's seen it, and it ain't shit. It ain't shit. There's no there. The most that came from it was the idea that if he made money in Rosemont Seneca, he might not have paid full, whatever his entire tax burden is on it. And he's got a tax attorney working on it, and they'll either fine him for what he didn't pay, or if they charge him because he did it on purpose, as opposed to it being a mistake. And for fuck's sake, if they go after Hunter Biden for fucking around with his taxes and don't go after Trump when it's literally, in the case of Hunter Biden, it's like $1.1 million. That's the amount of money that they're talking about. Where with Trump, it's like tens of millions of dollars over multiple decades, if not hundreds. And I got news for you. I'm good with Hunter Biden doing 6 months and paying $1.5 million fine. If that means, all right, Trump, you're up, buddy.
Is it really new?
Yeah, no, and this is, unfortunately, this points to something about the investigation that many people don't want to acknowledge.
You mean that there's no there?
Tragically, all of the information, as with the 2020 report, will be coming from the U.S. Department of Treasury, right? These are from suspicious activity reports. And we know now that the Treasury Department, Janet Yellen, doesn't want to give any of them up anymore to Hunter Biden. But the fact is, if Senators Grassley and Johnson have them, then who else has them? The Department of Justice knows all about it, too. And the U.S. Attorney in Delaware knows all about it, too. What does this tell us? I've been saying for 2 years, ever since the Hunter Biden stuff started to come up, or not since.
Stuff's a good word.
It started to come up, but since there was an investigation of Hunter Biden, my case has been, it's a performative investigation. Nothing will come of this. Nothing would.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nothing will come of this because there's nothing there. Certainly not of the level that you guys are hoping for, because none of it plays out with fucking reality. Part of the clamoring in this situation is the same. This is sort of the same complaint that the right wing had about Russiagate, is that they're bitching about there's nothing there, and they keep looking, and they just keep looking just to look. Well, that's because that's what they're doing. it's always projection. I don't know why this guy is in a closet office. Obviously, he lost a bet with family members.
Make me happier than to have to eat my hat and say, wow, look, they rung up Hunter Biden on all this stuff. I can't believe it. Even though the same Department of Justice sends FBI agents to go after a former president of the United States and raid his home at Mar-a-Lago.
It's not his home. He stays there sometimes. It's a fucking hotel.
As it turns out, these guys are kind of on the up and up because they're going after Biden too. Unfortunately, I do not think that's the case. In fact, I think it's because it's a weaponized Department of Justice and a weaponized
By the way, that's the other phrase. You'll hear that a lot. Weaponized Department of Justice. They've road tested that one, and they think it sticks. And it doesn't.
FBI to go after Biden opponents. I think nothing is going to come of this at all. And again, I encourage people to understand where we are at this particular moment.
In a closet? Oh, maybe, I don't know. That's wrong. Maybe he's not in a closet. Maybe he's just in an IKEA after closing.
In American history, the fact that Senators grab.
Oh, look at this. Where did they find this picture? I take it all back. The picture of them at a baseball game? Obviously.
Wesley and Johnson are sending 200 pages to David Weiss in Delaware, underscores the fact that they're not doing anything. That's why they sent it, to highlight, to let Americans know there's all this information on Hunter Biden and the Chinese Communist Party, and still there's no movement. Remember, this investigation, so-called investigation, has been going on for 2 years at least. Where's the evidence? It's all over the place. It's not just in Hunter's laptop.
There is no laptop.
In the records at the Department of Treasury. Why haven't there been any charges yet? I think
it might be because there aren't any crimes.
Yeah.
We must conclude there are not going to be any charges ever against Hunter Biden.
Yeah. But, that shouldn't stop you from banging this fucking drum and showing the picture of him smoking in the bathtub covering his nipples for fucking ever. I swear to God, Hunter Biden smoking in bed is the new cigar holder from the Lewinsky affair.
If your banking records just had one flag on it from suspicious activity, you would have already been visited probably by an IRS agent, and now they're hiring 80.
He has. They're in a full investigation. That's the point.
7,000 of them to be armed. So, America, if you get even one flag, they're going to come and visit you. Hunter Biden.
Yes. This woman is telling every American that if you get one flag, if you just accidentally send a massive crypto payment for some weapons to a Taliban Coinbase account, you're probably, even if it's your first strike, you're going to get a visit.
Biden had, I think, 140 suspicious activity flags in his banking record going back 2 years. Nothing's going to be done. I wonder, though,
based on what? That's, by the way, I would love to hear where that's coming from.
If they might be.
I mean, it might be in one of the news stories like Washington Times or something like that. I'd like to hear it.
Some type of charge against him, some type of little slap on the wrist, just to continue the phony narrative that they are equal in application of the law.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if that might not be some play in the next year after the midterms to give Joe Biden a push out. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So let me get this straight. So the people that are helping him hide a massive corruption by not charging his son are going to wait until next year to do it because they're planning on keeping him from running a second time. Wouldn't that mean they're on your side, you dumbass? What the fuck? If that's the play, they're like, yeah, we could fuck the midterms in this situation, but the big fish is Biden, and he might run again and win because we know the economy's going to, it goes in cycles, and it'll probably go up right about the time he's starting to run again, and it'll really fuck us going into that year. So we should wait to pull the trigger on it until then.
It's certainly a possibility, but again, I mean, this is not why the Biden faction, the
Faction.
Obama Biden faction, they're not interested in power, right?
No.
In order to use it to hurt the people on their team. We saw what happened with the Durham investigation, which now appears.
You mean nothing? Also, what the fuck was that sentence? Does anybody know? They're not interested in power and to hurt people on their team. To just do it.
Appears to be over.
Yeah.
Right? That's all their team. They're not interested in hurting their team. It's certainly possible, but the idea that somehow they have to placate
Wait a minute, how's Durham their team? The fuck is this?
people in Washington, never mind people around the country. I mean, they've sent FBI agents to go after pro-life activists.
Yeah.
No. Not for big pro-life activists, for physically assaulting people who were engaging in their freedom of movement, for violating the constitutional rights of other American citizens through violent assault, you fuckhead.
And these are the people who are going to show they're on the up and up by slapping Hunter Biden on the wrist for a gun charge. I mean, and look at what that does. I mean, it makes Joe Biden's gun, push for more gun control look outrageous.
Well,
So,
but I think there are some voters out there that they think that there's enough voters out there that they think are malleable, that they might actually think they got to throw a little bone towards.
No, they don't have to make up a fake charge just to play down the fever dreams of OAN viewers that OAN somehow thinks are even-keeled political independents who just, I don't know, I watch OAN, I watch MSNBC, I get the full spectrum, and I'm on the fence about this whole Hunter Biden thing. Well, they aggressive, they gave him a $100,000 fine, and I think that's reasonable in this situation. How do you pass the remote? I want to Simon's on.
The way maybe some of the independents, because they might have gone a little too obviously far, with Trump,
No.
I don't really know,
Anything?
if I had somebody on the show the other day who said, look, don't be looking for any charges against Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, because the issue isn't even really them. The issue is really overall our systems and our institutions, because
Yeah, that's what it's not really so much Biden and Hunter Biden, because you could look all you want, but you're not really going to find a crime there. The crime itself is the existence of the U.S. government and its functioning capabilities. What the hell? This is seriously right. This is actually a fucking channel someplace. Look how much money is in this stupid network. And they're interviewing a dude in a library closet who dresses in the Honey, I'm Home 50 Shades of Grey collection.
we had Nancy Pelosi. Didn't she have a driver that was part of the Chinese Communist Party and a spy? We had Swalwell with Fang Fang. And you talked to yourself.
No, you didn't have Swalwell with Fang Fang. Fang Fang tried to work her way into Swalwell's campaign as a fundraiser, where she couldn't because she was not a naturalized citizen or citizen. She was a legal permanent resident, or she was on a student visa. She had the ability to organize student groups, but she couldn't raise money herself. And she reached out because she wanted to do that. And then the FBI called Swalwell and said, "Hey, she's a Chinese spy." And he went, okay, and they cut off all ties with her. She flew back to China and has never been seen since. That's what you're fucking supposed to do.
A few moments ago, the depth of the tentacles of the Chinese Communist Party and their money and all facets of liberal America is so deep.
Liberal America? The fuck are you talking about? Open up your books, OAN. Who pays for this fucking channel? Also, if it's, oh god damn it! All right, so everybody remember the press conference that the DOJ had with the FBI and Christopher Wray and somebody from I think the Department of Homeland Security, where they're talking about this coordinated group of Chinese foreign agents who were over here intimidating citizens and legal permanent residents in the country, and that they were trying to abduct some of them and all that shit. And we're finding out that in Norway, China had fake police stations. Canada, they have them too. Those things all existed. They've been growing, but they existed all during the Trump presidency. That was all happening during the Trump presidency. It was never shut down until Joe Biden became president. If he made a deal with the Chinese to help them increase their control on the American people, then why the fuck is he going after the Confucius Institutes and the fake police departments and filing charges, indicting Chinese spies who are over here trying to make Chinese Americans fear for their lives and their families and fly back to China where they can be imprisoned or disappeared? But that's what happened during the Trump presidency. Again, how do you look at what the Biden administration is doing vis-a-vis China and actually believe this like paint huffing bullshit that there was some kind of goddamn deal? Because if the Bidens made a deal with China, China got fucked. I mean, proper fucked. Yeah, proper fucked. Because that means the Bidens took money from the Chinese and never delivered and kept the money, because fuck you, Communist Party. Right? Because it's not paying off. I will say that apparently, in theory, I mean, Trump apparently got $15 million to that magic account he had in China. There was $17 million in it. He took $15 million out in cash, because you do that in a hurry when you're a billionaire and you're flush and you don't really give a shit. I lose more than I'd run for the bus. So, during the Trump presidency, they're walking up and fucking down the country, everywhere, and nothing from the right wing about how he's allowing them to do all this stuff. All this stuff that's coming up legally that the Chinese government was doing. Again, it's not an act of the Chinese people, but the Chinese government. The shit they were doing in the United States, all during the Trump presidency, that's getting busted now. And they're not even saying this all started during the Trump presidency, when it fucking well did. The Biden administration, the FBI, everybody isn't dunking on Trump about this when they absolutely could. But somehow these assholes think that this stuff happened during the Trump years. It was shut down during Biden. So that means Biden made a deal with the Chinese to help them out, and Trump was trying to stop them. I don't know where the fuck they get this.
That it kind of begs the question of,
do both of you smell almonds, is what I'm thinking.
Is there a solution here?
Yes, there's a solution here. Both of you can get some sort of medical extraction device and pull your heads out of your asses. I'm sick of this shit. This is so fucking dull. I've covered this and covered this and covered this, and I have never seen a there in any of this shit. And it's not even like stuff that it's not even hidden information. Apparently it's all on the laptop, and there's multiple, Rudy's had it for fucking ever. So if there's evidence that Grassley has to share with the fucking Delaware DA, it's stuff that was on there, so fucking show it. You got half a screen, what the fuck do you need this guy on for? Sit there and fucking put the thing on screen. Put it up there. I do it all the fucking time. Every time they bring something up and they put up a headline or something, it takes me about 20 fucking seconds to go find the article and point out how it's just bullshit, and they're using the title as the clickbait as a distraction. They're like clickbait as evidence. That's entirely the OAN and Newsmax system. I would argue it's also Fox's system across the board, especially on Unfiltered and on Tucker. And Laura Ingraham does it a lot too. Hannity just uses dumb graphics in lieu of that because he doesn't want you to read the articles and find out he's full of shit. So just make it up. I'm okay.
With the Chinese Communist Party?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and actually,
Yeah, what do you do? I mean, what are you going to do?
you may be surprised to hear this, but I'm going to give the Department of Justice and the FBI a break on this, right?
Hold on. China developers were going to build a resort in Indonesia. Guess whose name was going to be on it? Trump. Fortunately, the Chinese developers in question were busted in a scandal and the project shut down. Tweet me that article. I would love to see it.
It's fundamentally a political problem, right? This is about the
What? Oh, yeah, it is fundamentally a political problem. It's not a criminal problem because there's no crime. It's not a civil problem because it's not like you can fucking sue them because you have no standing and you're just a fucking lunatic. So, yeah, it's just politics. So you're both being political about this. Great. I'm so glad I wasted 11 minutes of my fucking life.
political leadership, mostly Democratic, a little of some Republican.
What the fuck is this? FBI agent with rubber gloves on, typing on somebody's computer. That's somebody's fucking ID right there. Or is it an iPad? No. Is that an iPod? It's either a driver's license. It's very dark. It's either a driver's license or an iPod from 2007. Please let me see
That
more.
were also involved. For instance, the FBI, even if the FBI wasn't doing things like spying on the Donald Trump White House,
They're not. They didn't.
even if it wasn't doing things like that, if it was
Yeah, they aren't. This, well, by the way, that's why he's saying, even if they're not doing it, because they're fucking not doing it. Even if they didn't do it, it's because they didn't fucking do it.
really actually focused on its role protecting the United States from dangerous foreign actors, right? Like the Chinese Communist Party, there is no possible way the FBI, with 13,000 agents, I think something like 35,000 total employees, could cover the more than 300,000 student visa holders from.
Oh, there we go. So Chinese students are a spy army, and you don't have enough agents. Each of these agents has got to watch 1,000 people apiece. It's just not possible. All these Chinese kids over here going to school. It's basically we've been invaded with an army of future accountants who want a degree. Yeah, you don't think they can weed through who might be the problem one, stupid?
China.
But never mind the fucking bigoted nature of this, just the straight up racism of, well, I mean, they're Chinese, look at this giant Chinese flag and all this. That's not here. What the fuck is wrong with you?
It takes something like 30 different agents to cover.
Yeah, by the way, this is a shot from Harvard. I don't know if you know this. This is commencement at Harvard last spring. It's just pathetic. I don't know what happened.
One person who's, one suspect, one counterintelligence suspect. So no, it's a political issue. No more. How about this? No more visas for China for the subjects of the Chinese, of the Chinese Communist Party regime.
All right, so no Chinese citizens can get visas at all. So this dude is advocating the Muslim ban for Chinese people. Right about the time, by the way, that sensible Chinese people are trying to find a way to flee the fucking country under legit means as best they can. Especially with the continuing lockdowns and how authoritarian the country is going. And this dude's like, yeah, you know what? We should shut the door right as they're coming over. Because, I mean, what good are they? Really? Has a Chinese American ever contributed to this country? I don't think so. So, and I as a man sitting in a panic room full of books off my third bedroom, where, of course, I live alone in this house because my wife and kids left a long time ago. It's weird. It wasn't my screaming at all hours. It was the smell.
That's the way to address these different things. But
no, that's not a fuck. Oh my fucking God. Look at her smiling. That's the way to address these things? So Yeah, he's going back to 1922. Just stop Chinese people. That like there was it was hold on, I forget what it was called. See the Chinese Exclusion Act. That should have been easy. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Yeah, this guy is advocating for the Chinese Exclusion Act. And that lady is smiling. Hey, lady, fuck you. You don't have to drop your pants and be, totally naive about it, but you also don't have to turn into a goddamn bigot simply because you don't trust the government of a country. Holy shit. Who the fuck is this guy? The ongoing coup? I'm genuinely shocked.
Why isn't that going to happen? Or why isn't it going to happen without a lot of pressure? Because the universities want it. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, name a university, and they'll come back and they'll tell you how important it is to have the thousands of Chinese students they have on campus paying full tuition.
Also, not anymore. Ever since COVID, that number has been cratering. And once people return home, they don't come back. China is shutting itself off from the fucking world. And some of these students who are here, instead of going back, their parents are saying, you know what? Better to stay here. Better to stay in the United States and live there. Live your life there. Stay. Find a way, get a work visa, and then become a citizen. Don't come back. Because if you come back, you won't be able to leave, at least for, the next 10, 12, 15 years until Xi Jinping dies. And, or however long the fuck that could be. God knows if he ends up being like Kim Jong-il and just stays in charge for fucking three more decades. It's very reasonable that believe me, if I was a Chinese parent and my kid was in the United States and I was there while that shit was happening, I would tell them to stay. Find a way to work in the United States, build a business, marry a citizen, something. Don't come back. And if you can't stay there, stay for a little while and then go to Canada where they're and get asylum there in the United States. But don't come back here until we give you it's all clear. And by the way, tons of parents are doing that to their kids. They're not spies. They didn't send them here on behalf of the Chinese government. They just want them to have a better life. They want a better education. So they fucking sent them here to get it. And now they're like, don't come back. It's dangerous. And so the Chinese government has been sending people to the United States to get them back, warning them if they don't come back, their parents will be harmed. And their parents are like, we'll be fine. Fucking stay. Because if you come back, they'll harm us and you. So just stay there. And the FBI, that's what that press conference was about.
That's the issue. The issue with China is fundamentally a political problem. It's not an intelligence issue.
Well, in deference to the two of you. Thank God it's not an intelligence issue. You'd both be completely unqualified.
Mentally political. Until our politicians, we hold their feet to the fire. And in some cases, I will mean that literally.
All right. Nobody. A torture metaphor. Sometimes I mean that literally. No, you fucking don't. You are not going to this. And I, by the way, I sort of felt bad at the beginning of this, making that kind of untoward joke about this fucker being in this closet and being able to push on that bookcase right behind him and open up into a room full of like leather straps and a gimp and a fucking crate and a cat of nine tails and a stain on the floor and nipple clamps and shit like that and a vat where he's dissolving his last victim. I felt that was right out of the gate judgmental, but I was being absurdist, so I would let it slide. Now, nah. I think it's worse. I think that was just intuition on my fucking part. And granted, I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder about that phrase, holding the feet to the fire. Cornel West said it once about Obama, and I was like, you're really going to use a torture metaphor that was used on slaves and heretics, where they would literally hang them up and burn their feet with irons as a way of motivating someone to do what you want them to do, or to make them keep their word, which is the heretical part. No. It's a shit metaphor. It's grotesque. Imagine if somebody said about Obama, well, we got to keep shackles on this guy so we make sure he does what he's supposed to. We got to whip this guy so that he does what we expect of him. Right? Fucking terrible. Hold your feet to the fire is the same fucking thing. It's a torture metaphor. And then this motherfucker goes, hey, sometimes literally. Listen to this shit. Hold on. The fuck? I almost grabbed my bullshit button. Hello.
Political problem. It's not an intelligence issue. Fundamentally political. Until our politicians, we hold their feet to the fire. And in some cases, I will mean that literally, none of this will be solved.
All right. In some cases, I mean that literally. First of all, you fucking prat. You are not going to be in a position ever in your fucking life to physically torture an elected representative in the United States of America. I don't know what kind of Jonestown horseshit you live in or you think is coming, but it fucking ain't. And I also don't understand how this dude thinks that our relationship with China and the Biden's relationship with China and how we're being treated and how Trump was treated and all this kind of stuff is inherently political. But this motherfucker thinks that things that are inherently political should be handled through the physical torture of human beings. Also, on the upside, he means politicians on his side of the aisle. He's not talking about doing this to Democrats. He gives a fuck. They just want them gone. He's talking about, like, Mitch McConnell. He's talking about Romney. He's talking about the Rhinos.
Well, Donald Trump came down the escalators in 2015 talking about how China was eating our lunch and taking advantage of us. He got it. He understood it.
No, he didn't. He did nothing to stop it. He exacerbated the problem. And they weren't. I like Chinese culture. 我最喜欢中国的文化 but 我有很多的中国的朋友 I have a lot of Chinese friends. 我爱中国人，我爱台湾人。And while I'm at it, Taiwan 是一个国家. I just said Taiwan's a country. Anyways, during that time, I was very up on Chinese people and the culture, but you could tell as I was there shooting the Explore China show, we would go to different places. Like, I was super excited when the thing started up. I was like, this is going to be great. I love going there. And I love, the food. I love the culture, what exists, in it. What's left of it anyways in China. All of it still exists in Taiwan. But most of it, what's left of it in China, they're doing Xinzhongguo, which is in New China, which is the elimination, like the second coming of Mao and the elimination of true Chinese culture. And the only ones you're allowed to do are kind of performative bullshit versions of old Chinese cultural things that are done. Imagine if they forced you to celebrate Christmas, but only do the Santa and presents part, and you're not allowed to go to church and celebrate the religious base of it by law. That's basically what's going on. So it's fucked up. And it didn't take me long going over there. I remember telling you guys this story of going to this new green city that China had built. And they flew us in to this one place, and we took a long train ride out to this city that they were building from scratch, essentially, to be completely self-sufficient and have recycling and all this stuff. And each apartment had 3 ducts in it that the garbage goes down, and one goes to recycling, and one goes for strictly plastics, and other ones go to composting. So you put your foodstuffs in these special bags that are biodegradable, and so that composts out and it helps the soil. And this one goes straight to raw plastics go out and they get recycled, and then regular paper garbage goes out this way. And if you have any extra special trash, you put it in a little box out front on trash day, and they take it to someplace, and somebody sits there and goes, what do we do with this kind of trash? And then they'll seek to eliminate that kind of trash from the garbage. Like, that was the plan. And they had a processing center where we went to film, which had this big screen on it that showed where all the trash was coming in from all these apartments. You could see when it came out of an apartment and where it went, and it ended up in these big processing, like these canisters that were like 20 feet wide and 20 feet tall. They were like kind of ovular tank, like oval tanks on the top and bottom, like rounded, beveled tanks is what I'm looking for. And this is supposed to be the container where the certain types of trash goes, and then they treat it specially with this stuff that they rinse it and degrade it and turn it into other shit. But they weren't tanks at all. They were concrete molds. They weren't hollow. The garbage didn't go in there in any form. The screen that they were showing was a loop. If you stood there long enough, you would see the same trash come out of the same apartment and go down the same track in the same hole. And then go into the same tank, which couldn't take garbage anyways because it was a solid chunk of concrete. Now, other people, like Ray Dalio and other, like, I'm sure politicians from all over the world, got wined and dined, and they brought you there, and they set you up in this hotel where there's barely anybody around, and it's, oh my God, the space they've got, and there's so many hotels, and there's so many rooms at this place. Never mind, they're hollow. They don't even have, the walls aren't painted. Like, you go in the wrong hotel room, if your key worked on all the ones, if you could use your key to get into another room, you'd open it up and there'd be nothing in it. It would just be an empty concrete room. There'd just be glass on it with the drapes drawn. That's what they did. And they would, like, and there was fucking nobody else there. In a country of 1 billion people, almost everywhere we went, if we weren't in Beijing city center or Shanghai city center or at one particular like heavy tourist area during a touristy part of the year, empty. Fucking nobody. And so when I said when I came back, like, I was always dubious about the China's going to eat our lunch kind of things because they assemble things, they don't make things there. And they're not even allowed to have, ingenuity is all but outlawed in the fucking country. We went to so many places where we had an interview ready with somebody, and it was going to show, culturally what was going on, or some particular restaurant or some particular thing. And they canceled it at the last minute, and we couldn't meet with them. They're not available. And come to find out, they never existed. Or the place never existed, and they were all just trying to get us to a particular part of town. They're like, well, that didn't happen, but if we film over here, this is really cool. And it's the same shit you'd see in tourist videos all over the time. Basically, if you like showed up in LA and you're like, I'm here, the LA Tourism Board has flown me into Los Angeles to show you how much LA is fantastic. We're going to see the Sunset Boulevard. We're going to go see Mann's Chinese Theater. We're going to go down to the beach and see Venice and all the craziness down there. It's going to be great. And then you show up and somebody from Los Angeles says, as you pick you up at the airport and goes, yeah, we're going to set up this thing. There's something going on. They're doing some construction or something at Mann's Chinese Theater. So we're going to take you, and we can't take you to this place, but we're going to take you to this really great restaurant on it's like on this lot, and we'll show you. It's going to great. We'll give you a great tour. You'll be plenty to film. And we pull onto a television lot, pull up to a studio where they have constructed essentially a restaurant set and you're like, this is your, and LA said, the LA Tourism Board said, this is your tour. Film this inside here as if it's a restaurant on the street. And most of the people go, yeah, sure, okay. That's I mean, everywhere we went to these Buddhas that had been discovered in the side of this mountain that had supposedly been there forever, and they were discovered after a long time, because there's a story about this this miner who was digging and the thing fell, and then, oh my God, there was a Buddha under here, and then they started digging and they realized all these chambers along here, and you could go in and see all these different Buddhas that represent all these things, and then there's one big giant one in the center, and it's gorgeous, but you can't film in there, and you can't take any pictures. Even without the flash, you're not allowed. Because they don't want you to. Not because you'll harm it or anything. Just say, you're not allowed. How come? Oh, you're just not supposed to. It's just bad. I'm like, is it bad luck? Is it considered? No. We just can't film in there. You come in and look, and then you come out and you stand out there and go, wow, I've just seen this thing. But you can't film it. There's one you're allowed to film, and then the rest of them are, you're not allowed to show anything. And I was like, okay, these are just a set. They built these. They made them. They built them like a huge set piece. Like, imagine if people in Irvine in California said, we'd like to show you this ancient site called Disneyland. It was discovered many, many years ago, and it's been here forever. This monorail, it was made 1,000 years ago. You're not allowed to take any pictures, but it's been here this whole time. You're like, I'm pretty sure you just made this a couple of years ago. Nope. The whole China's going to eat our lunch thing was a sales pitch. Biden has said it a couple times, and it's just like people just said it like a fucking tick.
And was actually taking some steps against it. So
no, he wasn't. If he was taking some steps against it, he wouldn't have excluded all of Ivanka's shit from the tariffs.
I think we can get some movement on this. We just need new leadership. And I thank you for being here tonight, Lee.
Thank you, Andrea. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Have a great night. I gotta leave right now because I gotta. I'm sorry. Can you hear the screaming? I just hear the screaming. Do you hear the screaming? Ah! Fucking hell. Hi, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. That's an OAN clip where a guy who wrote a book about how everybody's torturing Trump, poor baby, thinks that we should be torturing Republicans by burning their feet with hot irons, which I would like to say for the record, I'm against. Yes, like that metal tank. That's exactly right, Narg. Yeah, the Buddhas were fake, just like the metal tank that was actually concrete. They were made of concrete. I guarantee the reason they didn't want us filming those things was because they're not real. And you would have taken the footage back and gone, hey, look at this. And an actual archaeologist would go, that's the wrong fucking time period. What are you talking about? They didn't come up with this way of painting stuff or those images. That's for another 1,000 years. What are you talking about? This is just a drawing. Where the fuck they get this from? A manga? Yeah. So, anyways, good times.